is All Things Blockchain for June. I can't believe it's June, it's tax time. And what better time then to talk about R&D tax incentives, perhaps. We'll find out a lot more tonight. I know there was an important deadline that passed recently in that regard, but we'll talk tax and all things innovation tonight with Deb from Granton. Really looking forward to this one. I'm going to talk about events, then we're going to have a prezzo, and we're going to make this as interactive as we can with some Q&A as well. And this is All Things Blockchain. For those of you who don't know us, we've got a few. Actually, who's the first-time attenders tonight? Who's first time at an All Things Blockchain? Quite a few, actually. So that's really refreshing to see. Thank you for coming out. I know Jim Dorash, I met George, I met Lily and David. Sissy Ma is a legend in any setting. Karen, who I met as well. Yeah, wonderful to see you all here. Mary, my new friend. I met most of you newcomers, so welcome. And of course, to everyone who's travelled. I'll do my travel segment. Who's travelled from further than or equal to Beenleigh? Because I know I have got one from Beenleigh. Yeah, Mexi. I know my friend Joe Fisher has come from Beenleigh. Our presenter herself has come from the Gold Coast. Renee, our chef. Actually, a big round of applause for Renee. I'm jumping around. Renee, our chef, has come all the way from Coolangatta as well via public transport. Anyone from further than Coolangatta? Can we beat Coolangatta? Michael Quaital. We never quite know where he surfaces from. He comes from somewhere. No, any further than Coolangatta? All right, Coolangatta takes the prize tonight. All Things Blockchain, we're chain agnostic. We love to do what we do tonight. I've made some wonderful connections and I can see some good connecting going on between people making new friendships and new, hopefully, business relationships tonight. It's really wonderful to see. Thank you all for coming out. This is what we love to do, build, commit and educate in the Web3 space. None of this happens without a team, a small army working behind the scenes. We have a number of us community, mostly volunteers, working behind the scenes to organise things, to put on community newsletters and to make sure that the events happen on the regular basis that they do. Tonight, though, it's all about Granton, a wonderful business that Deb has set up. And I read recently you're putting on new employees, so you must be growing. It's definitely, we're going to hear about that growth journey tonight. 4 staff, that's incredible. So well done, Granton. That says to me right away, there's demand. There's demand for the service and it's effective, so power to you. All about Granton tonight. I'll let Deb speak for herself. I won't go into that too much right now, but what I will say is it's fascinating that Deb manages to straddle Web 2 and Web 3 when we think about our world. So Deb, she can tell you tonight, did do a time at Pummel Health, which was an innovative health-related startup in the distributed ledger space out of the Gold Coast with Damien King. And so Deb knows her Web 3 stuff. She gets around to the crypto conferences but she also knows the traditional funding environment as well. So really looking forward to that. None of what we see tonight happens without our sponsors. I'll ask Matt to put that slide up if you can, please. Thank you. We have about 15 sponsors on our books and we're really pleased for all their support. Big round of applause for all our sponsors. They really do help us put on these events. We meet here every first Tuesday of the month, and we also host regular online AMAs every 2 to 4 weeks as well, interspersed throughout the year. We have a few different levels of sponsorship there. Always happy if you want to chat to me or Danielle about sponsorship. And going forward, we work with various collaboration partners. We have a lot of friends in Australia and overseas in the distributed ledger space. Some of those are Evolve Her. I'll get Danielle to talk about Evolve Her in a moment. Australian Crypto Convention. I notice they're starting to ramp up now as we head towards November, which is when the next Oz CryptoCon will be, I think 22 and 23 November from memory in Sydney at the ICC again. We also work with Off-Chain Global, a number of international partners there. For All Things Blockchain. We're always keen to grow the community. If you want to follow us, we're on all the social channels. You'll find us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, of course, X, all the usual places. So do jump on and give us a follow. And we do have on paragraph.com our monthly community hub newsletter that goes out on the first day of each month. And we try there to highlight events going on in Australia and around the world in the space, events that we think are of interest to our community. We've got around about 1,700, 1,800 subscribers on there now, which is really nice. And I know people are reading that because they reach out to me after it. So it's really pleasing to see the reach of that. Advanced Queensland kindly help us with this space. Advanced Queensland, for those of you who don't know, support innovation in the state of Queensland, and they love innovative organisations that we work with as well. So we're very grateful to Advanced Queensland for giving us this space tonight. We're also grateful to our friend Matt, who helps make the audio and the video work. Big round of applause applause for Matt over at Pixel Castle. For our Zoom callers, he's also bringing the audio and the video to people live on Zoom, and we also upload our meetups to YouTube. Well, it's being streamed there now, but it will be made available after the fact for your viewing pleasure as well. I love events, as you know. Most recently, we partnered with Bitcoin Brisbane and also Proof of Search and a couple of others, Stand With Crypto, to put on Bitcoin Pizza Day on the Thursday the 22nd, of course. And I pulled out a few of the photos. I recognised a few people from our events who sort of crisscross or maybe go to both meetups. And I pulled out a few of the photos there. I can see there's Pete Bowie there with Renee and my good friend Joe. There's David Small up in the top, your top left, sampling some of the pizza, because I had to get a photo in it there of David and a pizza. That was really good. And I can see George and his good partner, whose name I always forget. What's George's partner's name? Carmel? Oh, I always forget her name. I'm working on it. That's Lee, Mario, Guyan. That is Vincenzo, Jimmy, Frank. OGs there. That was right. It was the All Things Blockchain OGs. Some of these people have been coming much longer than I have to All Things Blockchain. And there's me putting on a bit of weight there, with Kev and obviously Lucas and Tom Miller from Bitcoin Brisbane. So it was a good night. I met over at Fallon's, and it was a good way to mark that nostalgic Bitcoin Pizza Day. Coming up though, looking forward, DECA conference now only 2 weeks away. So I heard yesterday around about 200 or 300 registrations for that, which is really pleasing. And I'm really looking forward to that. It's not just a talk fest, there are a lot of workshops, a lot of round tables, interactive sessions, and also on the third day where Danielle and I are running a meme coin debate, similar to the one we did at ATB, but probably on steroids with rules and even better. We're going to do it even better, more disciplined. We've got some really highfalutin lawyers that are going to be representing one side, and some degens are going to be representing the other side of the meme coin debate. So it's going to be quite an interesting one. Should we rein it in or not, I think is the title, or something to that effect. Should we rein in the meme coins or not? Speaking of degens, Darren Rogan is putting on a side event on the Monday night. So the conference goes from Monday to Wednesday. This is 16 to 18 June. And you can register, if you didn't catch that on that last slide, it's deconference.com.au. Hopefully that QR code is working for you there. Wonderful. I find, we became so used to QR codes through COVID. Before that, it was kind of like, felt like a dying technology almost, but for some reason we've just gotten so used to inadvertently scanning QR codes. Stay safe out there, because sometimes they can be subverted. Darren Rogan is putting on an event on the Monday night, which has a number of other sponsors there with whom much of you will be familiar. That's called Builders, Blocks and Beers. It's with a group he works with out of Sydney, I think, called Ausbuilders. I'm going to get Danielle to come up quickly and talk about Evolve Her and She Connects. Big welcome for Danielle Marie.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Matt. And hello to all of the new people who I've not had a chance to meet. My name is Danielle Marie. Just quickly before I talk about Evolve Her, for those of you that I haven't had a chance to meet, I'm one of the founders of All Things Blockchain, but have been traveling a lot and have been leaving it in the good hands of Matt and Renee, who have been doing a fantastic job. So I just really want to thank them for continuing on leading this community that when I originally founded it, it was for a community, organized by the community for the community, and they've kept that going. So I'd like to give them a big round of applause if we can do that. So thank you very much. She Connects is a event series that I recently launched and decided to take global. I hosted it in Hong Kong, Denver, Token 49 in Dubai, and then Consensus Toronto. It was quite successful, and we're hosting our Australian version in 2 weeks' time. And this is through my new venture, Evolve Her, which is a mentorship, community, and education platform specifically designed to help support more women in entering in the space and upskilling and educating themselves. But we will be working very closely, obviously, with All Things Blockchain and hosting these types of events. So the exciting part about this event is anybody can attend it. You don't actually need a ticket to the conference. So for anybody that's here, that is available on Wednesday afternoon, whether you're on the Gold Coast or Brisbane, also please spread the word. The conference is a paid conference. I think Matt, I don't know how much the tickets are. I think like $200-300. So for some people, and it's a very good conference that's around, regulation and roundtable and a lot of active builders, but that might not be the environment for a lot of new people, a lot of crypto curious, Web3 curious. This is an opportunity for them to come to the event. It's on the last afternoon in room 3. So they do actually get to come to the conference and kind of experience a little bit of what the conference is, because it's on the last day. They don't actually need a kit. So please spread the word that they can come to the conference on the Wednesday and attend this event. It is open to all genders, so we are, all of our events are gender agnostic. It's about supporting women. So I always say, to our male allies, which Matt is a living advocate of it, do you have a daughter, a wife, a sister, a cousin, a friend, a colleague, or anything that, that are a woman that you may want to support or invite, then please come with them and support them. And, even so much as I really want to start encouraging people to start bringing their kids to these events, mindful, not your like 2-year-old that's going to cry, but like, your 6, 7, 8-year-olds. Let's start exposing them and bringing them to the events. So I really hope that you guys can make it. There will be a lot more coming out about Evolver and ATB and the different types of online activations and everything that we'll be doing, but this is definitely an opportunity to come to the Gold Coast, participate in the conference, and participate in the event. It is a networking event, so we play a super powerful networking networking game where you get to meet other people in the industry and see how you can support each other and collaborate. So I really hope to see some of you there, and even if you can't make it and you think that you know somebody that could make it and we get value of it, please share it with them, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Danielle. That's very exciting. Speaking of juniors, I don't want to embarrass them too much, but my friend Pierre, is Pierre still here? He has brought his son, speaking of teenagers tonight. Maxime, I don't want to embarrass you, but you're very welcome. Thank you for coming and for possibly being the youngest person here. So Pierre is actually a really interesting one to meet. He is... he wears many hats, has lived in many countries. I had an interesting coffee with him recently, but Pierre is working on a tokenization project called Fairgrade Forests, correct? Fairgrade Forests, dealing with tokenization of tracts of land that are forested, funnily enough, in Papua New Guinea. So really interesting guy to talk to, and he's getting done a lot of groundwork over years on that project, and is working on getting some funding now. And Maxime is also on the project. I'll talk to him too. Okay, talk to the son too. He's also a budding networker. But tonight we're going to hear from Deb very shortly once I stop rambling. I'm very excited to announce next month on the first Tuesday, because we always meet on the first Tuesday, we're going to be partnering with Swiftex. Swiftex are one of our foundation sponsors, and they have nominated 2 luminaries in the space, really, Tommy Honan and Pav Hundal. They run a well-known podcast called Stepping Into Crypto, if I'm not mistaken. And they are going to do a podcast format conversation here live in front of us with interactive Q&A, of course, in a month's time. So I'm really looking forward to that one with Swiftex on Tuesday the 1st. But tonight, after we ask for volunteers, always keen for a little bit of help just to put away glasses, or maybe, just put away some food at the end. That would be really helpful. But enough out of me. It's over to Deb from Granton, who's going to use mic 3.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me all right? Yeah. Hello, everybody. Oh, there's actually more people than we thought. I was like, grants, no one's going to show up. But you guys are all hungry for money, I see. Yeah, there you go. Oh, look, nice to meet you guys. So, cool. Hey, oh, whoa, look at the titles and everything. He's getting better. Okay.
Yeah, he's really good.
All right, cool. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, sweet. Well, so a little bit of background, and then we'll get into the juicy stuff, which I'm sure you guys are here for. So my name is Deb Kocak. So I used to be a corporate tax lawyer and did a lot of stuff with startups over the years. I've even had a number of failed startups of my own, so wear the badge with honor. I spent a lot in crypto as well, and it feels like every year in crypto is like 8 dog years. So it very much is like that. That's how I sort of got exposed to the space. And then over time, I just sort of realized that there was such a need for consultants that weren't like your 60-year-old average, like real boring, doesn't know technology, not pointing fingers, but you know, that's sort of the average experience that a startup founder was dealing with, and I just did not like that. Like your classic accountant, boring as batshit. And you know, I'm not like that, very unfiltered, and that's a sort of service that we like to provide as well. And that's sort of where Granton was born. So essentially, look, the basics of what we do is we work with startups all day, every day, and we help them apply for grants, find grants, and hopefully help them grow over the course of their business life cycle. So that's pretty much us in a nutshell. In general, since I've started the business around 2 years ago, we've signed up more than 50 clients for just R&D tax alone, which is, I'm super proud of that number. Thank you so much. And you know, we've helped them get over $5 million worth of tax incentives back. And on the grant side of things, we've got a very good success rate too. Even just a few weeks ago, one of our clients got $150,000 to continue building their tech. So I'm super proud, and that's exactly why now we've grown to more than 5 people in the company. So I'm super excited. Especially as it's also my first like successful business, I guess. Everything else was like kind of shit. So, yay. You guys will do that too. Well, so I had a fashion business that was really bad. I tried drop shipping, that was not good. I had a tech startup, that was not good. I realized that if you're not a CEO, it's not good. You need to find someone that really knows tech and that can be your friend. You know what I mean? Like, and the moment you start doing more work than the other founder, it's no good. No good. It's like a divorce. It's not pretty. Although I haven't had one of those. Not married either, but. Anyways, so that's what we do, R&D tax and super boring stuff. The stuff that you guys don't have time for and you don't want to do. So that's what we do. Okay, you talked about that. One of the things that I think makes us really different is because you guys are all interested in Web3. And actually, if you look at the room around you, and just sort of look around. I can see you guys not looking around. Look around. These guys, you're like the 2% of the world. Probably not even that. And when you take into consideration all of the lawyers, the accountants, the tax agents, all the people that just sort of you need in your life, but you kind of don't want to have in your life, they don't know about Web3. Like, they really don't. If you go to a conference, like a crypto conference, they have no idea what even blockchain is. They'll pretend to so that they can get your business, but they don't understand it. So how can you rely on someone's advice if they don't know what you're working on? So that's where we sort of try and be different. Okay, so now the fun stuff. I did go around the room a little bit earlier, and I realized that some of you guys are like idea in the sky, that's amazing. Idea stage, there's a few of you that have more later stage businesses, but I just want to do a show of hands real quick. Tell me if you have an idea right now that you're working on, but you don't have anything built yet. Great. Awesome. Love it. Tell me if you have currently a startup that you're working on, and you've got maybe an MVP or a prototype. Hands up. Awesome. The cool kids at the back, I see. So now tell me if you've got more of a mature startup, maybe you've got a couple staff, you've spent a good amount of money, let's say 50K plus, and you're still developing, you probably got some early traction. Hands up. Ooh, very cool. Okay, sweet. So most of you guys are early stage. That's actually great. It's a great time in the product life cycle or the business life cycle of an entrepreneur to like get grants, but also to get yourself set up for the opportunities that you probably have no idea are available to you. And that's what we'll talk about right now. Get your notepads ready. So, has anyone here heard of the R&D tax incentive? Just put your hand up. A few of you. Okay, great. So the R&D tax incentive, I'll just dumb it down really quickly because it's so boring. But essentially, it's a program by the Australian government, tax incentive, that is designed to help you continue innovate. to make sure that Australian companies create really great IP and tech and products that can then go overseas. That's the whole objective. And the way they do that is they provide a tax incentive where if you spend a certain amount of money and you're doing innovative things, you can then claim that back on tax. So let's say I'm Spotify, early days, I've got my idea, I've been working on it for a little bit, I've spent at least 20,000 bucks on developing my algorithm. I can then call up Deb and go, hey Deb, I've been working on a really cool personalization engine. I want to claim it back on tax. I'll go, sweet. Now they can get almost 10 grand back on that money. Now, this is great when you start spending more dollars, because you spend 100K, you get almost 50K back. So it's like a no-brainer, free money, especially because development is very expensive. Like, do you want to hazard a guess as to what the average company spends on developing a software product? Let's do 50K, hands up. I won't count that. 100K. Yep. 200K? 300? 400? Let's do an R&D one. 500? 600? 700? Yeah, you guys are about right. The average client that we have spends around $700,000 on their development each year. Now, that is a company that spends a lot of money, but you'd be surprised as to how little users they have at that stage. And so one thing that I want to try and teach you guys in sort of this presentation is you don't necessarily have to spend a shitload of money first. We can go about it in a smarter way. So I've been doing this for close to 10 years, and I've probably spoken to hundreds of founders. I've applied for the R&D tax incentive probably upwards of 400 times now. And there are very, very clear patterns. I'm hoping that with sharing some stuff with you guys, you won't make those mistakes, because I have seen a lot of them go down. And that's very natural. We all know the statistics, 90% of startups fail and so forth. So let's move on. Can I get the next slide, please? It's me, I'm Mario. That's pretty cool, though. Whoa, look at you guys. Boom, 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 boom. Let's go. Yeah, so sort of spoken about this, but let's talk about starting a company. One of the things that you need to do if you want to ever claim R&D tax or even grants is I would highly recommend you start a company. So get yourself a PTY Ltd. The reason for that is, one, I don't really work with sole traders. Sole traders are really hard to get grants for, and they're really hard to scale. You know, unless you've got like, you know, Joe's farming shop or something, or whatever, some cleaning business, fine, be a sole trader. It'll keep things nice and simple. But all you guys with your big dreams, you want to have the IP sit in something a little bit more substantial. Now, obviously not legal advice, but we only really work with PTY Ltds. It's just better for grants and just funding in general. Once you start that company, say you have that idea and you have your MVP. I was speaking to a couple of you earlier. I would, instead of paying a big software development company like $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 and going in debt, go and do your customer development first. Go and figure out how to do a little MVP for very little money. Go and join the waitlist webpage. Like, these are the types of actions that you can straight away go in and see whether you've got any validation. Like, when I started Granton, I could have easily spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on developing some new tech tool or some new marketing campaign to try and sign every man and his dog. I didn't. You take the next best step that is the next approachable thing. So for me, that was go to my network, create a very simple landing page. Here, I'm going to do this, and we're only going to charge success fees. And then you realize that actually there comes a point in your startup where your points start to get easier to sell. You know what I mean? And when you have that tech product that you're working on, and you know you're going to want to spend whatever that amount is, that budget that you have, that you know you're going to have to spend eventually, you don't go and you spend that whole bunch of money beforehand. So one of the benefits of working with us is we can also guide you through that journey of how to essentially start your company and get it set up so that when you do end up spending that money, we can claim that cost. And you'll know that for every dollar you spend on software development, I can get you 50% back. Happy days. So, went over that. Now, Web3. Web3 is such an interesting kettle of fish because so much in Web3 is innovative at the moment anyway. There's so many problems. Wallets don't work. Scammers get all of your money from your account. You've got solutions left, right, and center that just don't work very well. Even, for example, MetaMask, one of the biggest wallets, and it's still a piece of crap. Like in a lot of ways, you know what I mean? And they are so well funded. And what Web 2 was like, and the thing is like, Web 2, there aren't really that many problems left to solve. The thing is like, in order to tick that innovation box, and this goes for all of the grants we work on, like I just did 6 Ignite Ideas applications just due this morning. And every single one of them, like Web 2 is getting harder and harder to prove what is innovation. I mean, when you think about it, when you develop a tech product these days, like even AI is making it so easy for you to vibe code anything these days. Like, who's looked into vibe coding? Just put your hand up. Not many of you, actually. You need to look into it, like YouTube it, because you will be able to create your MVP in like a day. And the way that, who has used ChatGPT? Okay, everybody. Who's used Perplexity? Great. Who's used any vibe coding tool or like Bubble or other like, you know, those drag and drop web builder things? Just put your hand up. A couple of you, perfect. You need to YouTube that stuff because for tech founders, like you guys are all interested in tech, Web3 clearly, you don't have to build something really fancy to get started. But even the smallest amount of progress is enough sometimes to prove to the people that are reading the grant applications on the other end, which is usually someone pretty old, they just want to see that you're not just going to run away with the money. That's the biggest thing. Like, I've been doing this for a long time, and sure, AI can take my job. I'm actually trying to replace myself with AI, but the thing is like, you have to have that narrative, and you have to have the ability to show to whoever's reading that thing, that if you take the money, it's going to have a much better result than someone else is going to take that money. So for example, say I'm working on a new legal tech software, let's say. I've put 10 grand into it because I want to make a really nice landing page and a somewhat functional prototype. Okay, that's me. And then on the other hand, we have Joe, who's thinking about making a legal tech solution, and we're both applying for a legal tech grant. Who's going to get it, me or Joe? Perfect. 10 grand. Now, I don't mean to say you need to spend that money, but just showing a little bit of traction is better than nothing. So with all of you guys that put your hands up earlier about, you know, you have your idea, you have your idea, you have your idea, just what is the next like 2-3 steps that you can take that is going to put you above everyone else? And that usually is not a lot, actually. I speak to a lot of people. Some of the people that were interested in grants 2 years ago still haven't really progressed. No wonder they're not getting grants. You know what I mean? So that's something I've learned a lot in practice. Okay. So the opportunity here is that there's a lot of federal and state funding now. We like to, as Web3 people, like to put ourselves in a Web3 box. But actually, it's not Web3 box. It's a what problem are we solving kind of box. What I found in practice with applying to grants is it doesn't actually matter what technology stack you use. It's really about what problem you're solving or what benefit you're bringing to the world or to usually Australia. Anything regional is really good. So for example, let's say you are engaging communities like Daniela's, you want to do education programs, you want to run events. There's actually quite a lot of money in that. It's great. You want to do tech, innovation is where it's at. The moment you have any sort of IP, like something where you can go, this is mine and no one else's, and this is what creates a moat around our business, that is really, really, really good. And those are the companies that I like to work with. There's just so much money in that. Like, for example, we just applied for a number of commercialization grants. They're each $200,000. Now, we don't know if they'll get it, but last year, for example, and I'll run through some examples later, but for example, I've helped Pummel apply for quite a number of grants, and Damien just wins everything. And it's crazy. He's probably received more than $1 million worth of grants. You're welcome. And it's to the camera. You're welcome. He's here watching. And the thing is like when you have something that has that feel-good element, like, you know, health or engaging youth, those things are always good. Now, obviously, you don't have to have that stuff, but we do like to pepper in a few of those nice feel-good things. So if you're thinking about any like startup that has some sort of social aspect, now we don't work with charities, but if you have some sort of feel-good aspect, always double down on it, especially if you want to apply for a grant, okay? So the business life cycle, you've got your start, your idea/MVP. Now, I'd highly suggest taking a photo of that. So these are some of the biggest grants that are available for each stage. So when we walk through a company, we usually get them at idea/MVP, which means we're like sort of coaching them throughout their life cycle. And something that I'm building at the moment is a team of advisors to also help with like what stage you're at. You know, say for example, like you're doing your prototype. Let me just get you a meeting with someone that really knows how to get prototypes off the ground. You know, that sort of thing. So that's coming soon. But when we get to idea/MVP, we like to see people that they're really committed and they have something on the ground, like some sort of boot on the ground. We want to see that they're actually creating something already, have some sort of traction, even if that means you've done like 10 user interviews and you're good to go. At the development stage, this is when you get the most amount of money. And the reason being is at that point you've got some form of trust. You've got somewhat of an established presence, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you're making millions. You can be at zero revenue at this stage and still get a lot of money. And the reason being is because you probably have some sort of IP. So when you have that IP, you all of a sudden open up a lot more opportunities for yourself. And that can happen pretty soon after incorporation. So let's say like 6 months down the track, you're doing like a beta test with a big client, or you've taken it to 100 users. They were all given really good feedback, and now you're starting to spend a little bit more money, so you're in that 50K plus range. That is when you can really start unlocking some really amazing funding programs. And then commercializing is a great one for when you are ready to go to market. There is a lot of opportunity when it comes to exporting. Something that I think all of you guys should note is Trade and Investment Queensland. They have a really good amount of grants and programs that are entirely designed for you to pay for things like Facebook ads, attending conferences, and all sorts of stuff like that as well. It's really, really valuable. So if you reach out to us, we can help you with all of these stages. So just go to the website. Just come and talk to me. I'm friendly. Granton.io. Yep. Okay, so I'll talk you through some of the case studies that we've done in the past. So White Glow is probably my biggest client right now. They are amazing. They sent me so much toothpaste, I'd never have to buy toothpaste again. They actually spent probably $2 million plus on R&D. And the way that they did that was they worked on these new flavors. And in doing so, they realized that like some of them were not very good. They had to change the formulation. So R&D doesn't necessarily have to be in the form of a tech product. Like a lot of them just make cool shit like this, or they make a beer, or they make a new kombucha drink, or they make a new surfboard that's transparent. Like you really can make anything. The only caveat is we want to see that you've done some sort of experimentation or testing. And the way that that looks like is you've got your V1. Your V1's sort of bad. Your V2's better. And then you realize that some things in V1 were good, so then you make your V3. If I can see that journey, I can get you lots of money back. Happy days. Everybody likes money. This is another example, very tech. So Theodore is a super cool client of ours. And what they do is they've created, have you guys used like AI to generate images? Yeah? Cool. So what they do is they've developed their own models and their own AI algorithms to essentially, like, I would take a photo of myself, like this, and then their algorithm would pretty much take my measurements, and then I can prompt it like anything. Like I can say, I want a sweater, strawberry print, and a leopard paws on it, you know? And then what it will do is it will generate that exact thing to my measurements, ready to go to manufacturing. And so there were heaps of problems in that because we all know it's super janky. Like AI is still uncanny valley. So they solved that problem. We're still trying to solve that problem by generating accurate models and making sure that it would fit a manufacturing thing, like ready to go. So they are well known for suits, and so that was the main thing that they worked on. So they got $120,000. Pretty happy days. Pommel's a great example. So this is my past life. So I was COO of Pommel for a few years. That's how I got to know this lot, the great Web3 world that we're in. So Pommel as a health app, honestly, like health is just such a cheat to get money. It's crazy. Just add that into your app, like wherever you can. Just we help people get healthy. So we got them more than $150,000. This is just one example of the few grants that he's gotten, just for exporting and developing a feature that wasn't on the app before. But it helped that he had traction. Because he had an app already, I think it had 100,000 users. It's a lot easier to then go, $1 here is going to get $2 out, or $1 here is going to hire someone, $1 here is going to get this done. Something, if you are going to apply for your own grants, and you're totally obviously welcome to do that, have like really, really, really clear, like say exactly what you're going to use that money for. Like, don't even like be broad about it. This is going to pay for someone to do my marketing, or this is going to go to hiring 2 staff for my business development. Like, be really, really particular. It really helps. Okay, so if you guys are going to apply for grants, these are some of the things that I've learned. I think, like, take a photo of this if you're looking at applying for funding. It's really important to read the guidelines, or at least just put it into ChatGPT and let it summarize it for you, because I don't think they use algorithms in their things yet to like sort of evaluate the applications, but the evaluators, who are typically like, you know, not very technologically advanced, they will actually have the guidelines next to the application and literally just check boxes sometimes. Like, they'll go, has he done this? No. Straight up rejection. You know, you could literally get rejected from like one sentence. And that is because if you don't read the guidelines and you're applying to the stuff that's just like not really good for you, just don't even bother. You're not going to get it. You're going to waste your time. But if you read the guidelines and you literally sometimes use their word for word, like, this is what we do, you're actually going to probably get through the rounds a lot quicker. Okay. A positive narrative goes a long way. That's very true. Their favorite thing to fund is more staff. Favorite thing, by far. Unless you're applying for something that has to do more with marketing, you can actually get quite a lot of money for like covering Facebook ads and stuff. There's a grant called Export Market Development Grant. Have you guys heard of that one? Anyone heard of that? A few of you? It's a really good one to look into. So for example, when you start wanting to advertise for your product or service, whatever the case may be, you can actually get a percentage of that back. No questions asked, equity free, and the process to apply for it is a little bit annoying, which is why we offer that service. But I definitely would look into it. It's a really good program for anyone that has something to sell and that wants to go on Facebook ads or Google ads, all that sort of stuff. Okay, there are trends, but I wouldn't worry about it too much. Anything tech is all about what problem are you solving. Don't worry about we're using this sort of tech, we're using blockchain, we're using this. That's a byproduct. And in a way, that's also sales 101. Don't sell the features, sell the what you're actually the benefits that you're trying to get that user to have. It's very similar in grants as well. Okay, and we talked about traction. Okay, so I will leave this up here, but does anyone have any burning questions for me? Ask away while you have me for free.
Good at being. What running events teaches someone who's slow and stale like me is to be more flexible. So it's really good. So I've grabbed Deb's mic. Our good friend Electra, who we know from industry. Where are you, Electra? She's somewhere, Western Australia or somewhere. To clarify, she says, and I think this goes to, you mentioned you prefer not to work with charities. I was going to ask, would you work with B Corps then as well? But as a tangent to that, she's at Network School in Singapore/Malaysia, writes Electra. God bless you, Electra. To clarify, do you work with the for-profit arm of a social enterprise hybrid structure where the charity, she's a tax pro, where the charity is a related entity but not the claimant? I would need to read that question 3 times, but you've grokked it at the first go. I'll let you respond to that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you for your question. So right now, I'm very much focused on the for-profit entities. If you have related entities, that's totally fine. What we can do is if you are registered in Australia and you have a PTY Ltd, we can actually work with you. The reason I don't do charities right now is just because of capacity. But if you have a really good one, just reach out and we'll see what we can do. But at the moment, my team is very much focused on commercial products that have PTY Ltds in Australia. You can have an overseas ultimate holding company. That's totally fine. The biggest thing is just make sure the IP that you're developing is sitting in the Australian company, because then you have much more options. And for those of you in the room, the biggest thing when you start adding more companies to your structure, a lot of the time you'll have a trading company and then you have your R&D entity or your other company that's maybe for something else. Some of you guys might want to raise in the trading entity or the holding company, and then you develop your IP or you hold your IP in another. That's totally fine. We would just get a lawyer to make sure that there is that IP licensing agreement so that everyone in the entity structure can use the IP that you're developing. Really important. Don't skip that step. Okay.
I don't know if you mentioned, but you were a lawyer by education, right?
Yes.
Originally, so that's fascinating.
Yes, I was in corporate tax for 3 years.
Fascinating. We do know some. I'm sure you know some good IP lawyers, but there are some good ones around.
I do.
It's fascinating to me how that touches different jurisdictions, but maybe that's tangential. While I'm looking for questioners in the audience, I'm watching. Oh, Guyon's got one. I was going to ask. And Danielle always. She's always a good thinker, as she listens. I was going to ask, I know we've talked at length about, not that this is an AI meetup, but it's hard to get away from. We've talked about AI in your productivity and your workflow. I know you said there you'd like to replace yourself even.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to talk about the make.com and that aspect of it, but also particularly how that maybe relates to not only, reducing headcount or making things more efficient, but what it might mean to a Web3 audience. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that question. So, well, before I started Granton, I was very much already AI curious, I guess. Back at Pummel, I actually, which is good and bad, but I managed to replace more than 6 full-time employees with the automations that I had built. And the reason why Granton, I think, was able to grow so fast with no staff up until now is because I did the same exact thing. Like, you can automate so much of the business with AI and other tools. I really like using make.com. It's really cool. Like, once you get over the learning curve, you can actually automate a lot. I'm sure some of you guys know N8N. It's very similar. Zapier is very similar. So you can automate like so much of your admin stuff and all the boring shit that you don't have time for. Really, I mean, as the founder, you should be focusing on the high revenue activities. Like, anything that's going to get you like more business is what you should be focusing on. For me, like, that is very much like doing the client meetings and doing the things that I like, which is talking to the founders, and everything else is just automate or outsource. Something I've learned as well is in all my previous business endeavors, I was very slow to outsource because of a lack of trust. And I think the reason why now things are getting better is because I have more trust in other people, which may not always work out, but I think the trick to entrepreneurship, some of you are probably older than me and have more experience, but the quicker you can outsource stuff to other people, you can actually grow your business a lot quicker. And automation actually is a big part of that. So we have a lot of AI agents and a bunch of stuff. Oh, something I'll just mention, I wasn't going to, but something that we're working on is an AI grant writer. You pretty much just like upload your company details, you then upload the grant details, and then it just spits out a grant application for you. Essentially, you won't ever need me anymore, which is great. I can go sip pina coladas, but that's something that, that I'm actively working on. So if you are interested in something like that, as well as grant matching, that's something that at the moment, I've built automations to create a whole grant database, scrapes every grant out there, and then we'll literally go, your booty shaker coin or whatever it is, has 4 grants right now that it can apply for. So if you're interested in something like that, I'll just go pop on the website, just reach out, and then I'll let you know when it's out. Sweet.
All right. Thanks for the great outline of the R&D thing. I had a question on so the is there any obligations that's tied with getting the R&D grant, and is it based on what you've done kind of in the past, or do you then commit for any future things to be done?
Yeah, no, great question. So R&D tax is retrospective, which means you're always looking back. So from July onwards, we'll be able to submit applications for things that have happened this year. So this financial year, Australia is always so funny because of its financial years being July to June. So if you guys did any development over that time and you've spent more than 20K, so 20K can come from contractor costs, server costs, materials, salaries, all sorts of stuff. It usually racks up pretty quickly. Then you could possibly have a claim. So just come talk to me, and then we'll talk about what you've been working on, and if it ticks all the boxes, go for it. And then the way that we work is we typically charge success fees, so super easy. There's no risk, really. You guys just go for it. We give you the money. Well, we don't give you the money, but you know what I mean. You get it from the government, and then that's when you guys pay us. So it's easy.
Just to add to that, so once you actually secure one of these grants, is there any obligations that
not for R&D? I mean, it's good for it's really good to keep documentation. A lot of businesses don't, but documentation is pretty much say in the case of White Glow, they were taking notes of their formulations, so they would be which is stuff you would do in your business anyway. You might send an email with this is what we tried, this didn't work. That's your documentation. And then what I would do is I would also provide you guys with some templates and just go, kind of like a journal, today I tried this and it just did not work. But there's actually no milestones. It's equity free. You literally just make an application, then you lodge your tax return and you get the money back. So it's super easy.
Good. Just one more. So
Yep.
Let's say you get a dev team to do your stuff. Is there a certain bar that dev team need to qualify so that their work gets recognized as...
The biggest thing is what is R&D? R&D is usually you have challenges or some sort of unknown that you're trying to tackle. So in the case of let's just say a personalization engine or a new AI model, if you don't know what the output is going to be, and you have an objective, like you want to do this, you want it to be accurate, you want it to do X, but then every time you try it, you get Y, then that is R&D, right? Because you have to iterate. So if any of you guys in your business are finding that, you're tinkering, it's that classic like man in like a lab coat. He tries this, he tries that. That version just was not good. He tries again, change the ingredients. It's the same thing in tech as well. So if you take that, then you're probably eligible to get some money back.
Kind of extrapolating maybe where Guyan was going with the question too, I think of the VC model. What I know very little about any of this, but what I do know from talking to venture capitalists, and we've got someone like a Sissy Ma in the audience here tonight who's awesome in the space and in business generally, and Jim Dorash, I noticed, and a lot of nods of approval and acknowledgement from Jim tonight, who's worked in numerous businesses as well. But I wondered, the VC model, when I talk to VCs, I ask, well, what's the environment like? What's the situation like at the moment? Is not that it's ever easy money with VCs, but how hard are they riding them? I guess maybe part of Guyan's question was in the way, looking from a VC lens, how hard do you get ridden? Once you've been given your 150K, how hard, because in VC land, right, they're doing daily check-ins, weekly check-ins, looking for progress.
Sort of nothing like that.
This sounds a lot looser.
It's a lot looser. Like, we only work on good applications anyway, so like we have 0 audits. Obviously, the ATO can audit if you've got like something comes up in the financials that is not right. There are essentially 2 main organizations that look into R&D tax. The first barrier that you have to go over is the Department of Science. And then the next barrier is the ATO. Now, if the first one passes, usually the second one passes just fine. And I've only ever had, like, maybe in all the years I've done, I've assisted probably on 4 different audits of applications that I directly worked on, either as a consultant in my previous firm or this one, and passed with flying colors. The thing is like, if you have been innovating and you've kept some sort of documentation, it is really easy to just go, here's the information, we're all good. And then they just go, sounds good. So it's really like, I wouldn't get scared of it. It's really just like, only apply for it if you are eligible. And that's why it's so important to pick your consultants right. Because I'm not greedy for money. Like, I will only work on the best clients, the best cases. And that's why Oz Industry, like Department of Science, the ATO, they know Granton now. They know that we have a good reputation and we're only going to get the best. But other companies might not do that. So they might just take any man and his dog. And I've seen that because when I used to be a consultant for other firms, I was working on some dodgy claims. And that is scary for the founder. Because if they come knocking and they go, hey, that year, that was not a good claim, give us the money back, then you're screwed. But if you're doing it right, it should be right. You'll sleep at night and you'll be fine.
That was so true, and she'll be all right, is what you said.
She'll be right.
So just a quick recap. You talked about IP being really strong. You talked about if you can prove research and development, if you can prove innovation, which Web3, generally kind of comes hand in hand. But my question is, and then obviously we have to invest whatever it is that we're building and then tick those boxes. And if we tick those boxes, we should most likely be eligible for this R&D grant. But my question is more around the IP and particularly maybe around more, because there's 2 different types of IP, right? So we could develop our own software, and that is, you own that IP, but then I can also build a business using a SaaS product, but still have my own IP within that. So my question is, would both be eligible if I can prove that I've done research and development? Now, I might have not built I might have white labeled a SaaS product, but I very much have developed all of my own IP within the company. I've proven the model, I've proven the problem that I'm solving, I've proven that demand. But on a technical stand, I don't actually own it because I don't want to spend $700,000 on developing it. Why not just white label it, but I still own the IP of my own business?
Yeah.
So does that have any...
Yeah, great question. White labeling, no. Just because they want to make sure that you're developing something novel / unique and developing something called new knowledge. And new knowledge in the form of the R&D tax incentive, and what they want is, I've built a new algorithm, it's mine, and if I was to sell the company, that would be one of the things that would go with it. So if you're
If you're looking more at grants then instead of R&D.
So grants is different. Grants really so tax incentive aside, so that's R&D tax. R&D tax is all about if you're developing your own stuff and you've got some special sauce. I like to call it special sauce because usually that is the case. Uber's special sauce was their algorithm that connected drivers to users at a specific location and had all these variables that made it complicated. So anything complicated looks good in my books. When you talk about whitelisting, it's not so much applying for R&D tax incentives and getting refunds. It's actually just going, what is the thing that we're offering? In your case, you've got the service of helping education, pushing women, that sort of thing. So then that would be what you'd use to get grants to cover your events cost, or maybe even the development of a platform, which then you can claim R&D for. You know what I mean? So it's like you use the grants plus the R&D tax. And when you're really smart about it, you can use it at every stage. And that's the best way to do it. Step 1, make something. Step 2, get a bit of revenue if you want. Step 3, get some sort of grant to fund development. Step 4, claim R&D tax on development. Step 5, we'll go back and apply for more grants and commercialize. Do it all again. And you can claim R&D tax as many times as you want for as many projects as you want.
Okay.
And then we get to party.
All right.
Very good.
Thank you, Deb.
Hello.
That's very good. Great Q&A and the content. I have a couple of quick questions. The first one is that in your experience, I remember you talked about something like 20 million, under 20 million. Have you done anything that's above 20 million?
Yeah, so White Glow is above the 20 million, so
Right,
we've done the
yeah.
different intensities.
So that
Yep.
that is fine. That's
Yeah.
good, because I thought that was the threshold. I
No.
didn't really listen
The only thing that
properly.
changes is the amount you get back, and whether it's a tax refund or whether it's your tax offset or tax refund.
Okay,
So
yeah.
when you're above $20 million, I mean, you've got different problems at that point, but at that point, it just erases tax.
Sure.
Whereas
Yep.
when you're
Yep.
the little guys, you get cash back,
Yep.
which often
Okay.
is better for
Got it.
runways and stuff like that.
That's right. Second one is, do you work with the likes of Radiant Capital?
Yes,
upfront
great.
cash?
Cece knows what's up. Yeah, so I'm super proud, but we've become a Radium partner. We're also partnered with Cashcade, Advanced, so we comfort letters as well. So we can, the reason, so what she's mentioning is there's something called R&D lending. So essentially, you can use your R&D expenditure, which let's say you spend $100,000. You still have 30 days until 30 June. You can apply for an R&D loan based on every company is different, but let's say they'll loan you up to like 80 grand to then spend this month, and then that will boost the amount that you can claim, and then you get more money back in your return, you pay off their interest and all that stuff, and then happy days, everybody wins. So that's so that's something that we can offer too. So if you're looking at that, or you know someone that needs some cash and has been developing something, that's a really good tool to just get some cash influx, and then you literally just submit in July. Yeah, so partnered with them, so all good in the hood.
If you can catch a coffee with Sissy, I'd highly recommend it.
Yeah,
But,
Sissy, let's go for a drink.
Yes, Tony Lenko. I think it's almost like a Gold Coast meetup tonight. I think Tony, God bless him, our friend Tony Lenko is from down Gold Coast way anyway, but that's beside the point. Tony writes on Zoom, is a university research centre eligible to apply for R&D grants? As a follow-up, I said, is there any more info you want to give? He says, not really. I'm thinking about a research centre that is currently working on various R&D projects. I guess they're eligible if incorporated as a PTY Ltd.
Yeah, so the main thing is we want to have the PTY Ltd. PhDs and stuff is a little bit tricky, but if they're solving problems and they've got IP and they've got a company, hell yeah, send them my way and we'll treat them good. But yeah, pretty much like research centers themselves, probably not, but if there is someone within that is developing something and that has the ability to, say that it's their technology. Something tricky with universities, I know there's a few of you at uni right now, sometimes you need to read the terms and conditions. Like if you're doing a PhD through a university, sometimes they do have access to that IP until at least you graduate. It's a bit dodgy. Look into that. Look into incubators. Like whenever you're doing any like Antlers or whatever VC programs, like always read the terms and conditions.
Especially when it comes to commercialization. Right?
That's correct, yeah. So with universities, it can get a little bit tricky, but if they have a PTY LTD, we've helped them in the past. And if any of you guys are using a university, like say a university, you have your own PTY, Rocket Ship PTY LTD, and then you're using the university as like a research assistant, that's really good for grants. You get like so much stuff. You can access like Xero, you can access all sorts of stuff. So it's really good.
Awesome. Thank you, Deb. Everyone online is appreciative, and I'm sure in the room, a big round of applause for Deb Kocak from Granton.io. Really appreciate it, Deb.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for listening.
I do hope that you'll be able to join us next month. As I mentioned, we're going to be with our friends at SwiftX. The months, they roll by, but we love putting on the events. I'm already working on July. That'll be a secret that will come out soon. But for now, it's SwiftX. And a big thanks again to Deb. Big round of applause.